Time now for our rants and raves of the week, starting with Dan Kennedy. What do you got, Dan?
I have a rave. My rave is for the local social media community. Actually, it went far beyond the local community. Earlier this week, the word went out that Boston Globe columnist Jeff Jacoby's son, Caleb, had disappeared, and it was a very frightening moment. He was a high school student. And this just went completely viral on Twitter and Facebook. And Jeff himself was involved in some of those efforts. And I think that probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people saw the Brookline Police poster of Caleb Jacoby. And we don't know yet, but it may have played a role in him.
He was found in Times Square, but do we know if somebody recognized him?
Well, the New York police, preliminary reports are saying several people recognized him. Whether it was because of social media or not, I don't know. A slight caveat to this is, although I think this was a good moment for social media, the fact that it involved a well-known media person, somebody else is not going to get the same kind of attention.
Great point. And I would just say, if I ruled the world, I would like to have websites and news organizations reserve a little corner of their space for regularly posting information about missing children.
That's a good idea.
Because the vast majority of them do not get this kind of bounce. Most of them are people of color or without resources. It seems like a small price to pay to get some action.
All right, Adam.
I want to rant about the latest 60 Minutes misstep. They ran a piece last week titled "The Clean Tech Energy Crash." I believe I've got that right. The contention being basically that clean tech and the push for clean energy technologies is an unmitigated failure. It is clear that there have been some problems in the clean tech sector, but the 60 Minutes piece wasn't a nuanced look at those difficulties. It was a real, this has tanked. Why is anyone still buying this garbage kind of approach? One of the guys who was quoted as a skeptic in the piece later went on the record saying, I told Leslie Stahl that clean tech was not a bust, that solar energy was booming, that other sectors were going to be big, and they just edited out everything I said. Real case of a story being forced into a pre-existing narrative, and another, I think, embarrassment for 60 Minutes.
It will be interesting to see how they address it if they do it all this week. My guess is they will, and they will have to address that guy's comments, too, about what was edited out. Be interesting to see if they would actually show us what he said.
That's how they should deal with it, right? Put it online.
All right, Callie.
Yeah, and I should say, I watched that, and I was like, wow, really? I mean, I was so shocked by all of that. But my rave is for Scott McFarlane. He is a local Washington, D.C. reporter working for NBC. He kept asking for a Freedom of Information Act reports from the Navy, and they, taking a long time. Reporters are used to it taking a long time. Then they said, well, it's going to cost you so much money. He pushed back on that and said, these should be records that I can use to tell people about it. It turns out that they were busily writing themselves, saying, how can we keep this guy from getting the documents? What other delaying tactics can we use? And they inadvertently sent him the document that they were sharing with each other about trying to keep him away from the information, and he published it. I love it.
That is a good one.
Yeah, and that was a revolting look inside the mindset of the government, which doesn't quite get who they're working for.
Chris Christie's aides? It's the same thing.
That leads me to my rant, which is about the Christie story, and in this case, it's about the reaction, in this case from the right, that, the liberal media is overdoing the story because they want to distract us from Bob Gates's criticisms of Hillary Clinton and her handling of Benghazi. And you hear this on the left as well whenever a story that they don't like is getting play over stories they prefer to see. Come on, people. Let's be grown-ups. You have an unprecedented menu of options for news and information. And the fact is, no one outlet dominates anymore. So let's drop this silly game of, they're doing this for that reason. Drop the childish conspiracy theories. If you want the information, it's readily available in whatever proportion you want it to be. That's the nature of the modern media menu.
So there. All right. On to mine. I have a rave for ESPN reporter Dan Le Batard. I want to get his name right. He put out, he's one of the sports writers, and the Baseball Hall of Fame, you only get to vote if you're a sports writer, and it's a very hallowed, honored thing to do. He put his ballot out to social media, crowdsourced it with people to say who, basically the people came up with the same 3 or 4 guys that he would have voted for. So he sends in his ballot, but he admitted it online or posted it or something. This is the way he did it. So the sanctimonious, I've got a rant for them, Baseball Hall of Fame people have banned him for a year from participating in anything, and for life from ever voting again. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
No sport, in my humble opinion, breeds sanctimony like baseball, and it extends to the media. Good for him.
Yeah.
And the writers shouldn't be voting on Hall of Fame selections in the first place.
Well, who should?
Well, not
certainly
the writers.
not the players.
Well, why not?
Players could actually, isn't that how they do it in the NFL? Or am I wrong about that? There's one sport in which the players vote.
Well, I will say in the Academy Awards, in the documentary section, documentarians vote in that section.
I do think Dan Le Batard should
I'd be voting for myself.
I do think this guy should be shunned, but not for this, because he's a big Miami Heat shit. That's unacceptable.
All right, you've heard our points of view. Now we want to hear from you. Should Boston's business community back the Boston Globe? Has CNN lost its way? Weigh in on our website, beatthepress.org.